Good morning, guys. Hope you're doing well. Today is Friday, and what that means is for our Jewish brothers and sisters, tonight they will begin Shabbat. Shabbat begins every Friday night and continues through Saturday until sundown Saturday night. And next week, the Passover will begin, and again, our Jewish brothers and sisters will celebrate the Seder meal. I mention all this because these are the foundations of our Catholic Mass. Jesus was Jewish. His disciples were Jewish, and they were good practicing Jews. Jesus would go to the synagogue on Saturdays, on Shabbat, and he would read from the Torah and explain what it meant. Jesus, with his disciples for the Last Supper, celebrated the Seder meal. So, Jesus was a good practicing Jew. And because of that, our Catholic Mass is taken from Judaism. The two parts of our Mass, the Liturgy of the Word and the Liturgy of the Eucharist, come directly from Judaism. So the Liturgy of the Word is basically a Shabbat service that happens in a synagogue. We're reading the liturgy, the reading of the Word, and the prayers that accompany that. And then our Liturgy of the Eucharist is a reenactment of the Last Supper, where Jesus was celebrating the Passover meal, the Seder meal. It makes sense then that our ritual is very similar. Not only that, but some of the words are exactly the same, but just a translation. So the prayer for the blessing of the bread, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem mi'haaretz. Blessed you, Lord, God of all creation, for through your goodness we have this bread to offer. Word for word. So we continue to share a lot in common with our Jewish brothers and sisters. However, one difference that I've been thinking about a lot recently has been the role of the home in Judaism versus the role of the home in Catholicism. In my experience of Catholicism and Judaism, the home plays a much larger role in the faith life of Jews than it does in that of Catholics. And here's what I mean. Shabbat dinners, first of all. I used to spend summers in Israel, and while I was there, I noticed that for a lot of my friends, Shabbat dinner was church for a lot of them. I went to a lot of Shabbat dinners, and there's a whole order to it. There's the lighting of the candle, the blessing of the wine, the blessing of the bread, the eating of the meal, saying grace. And all of this ritual, this religious ritual, is done at home every week. Additionally, the Seder meal. The Seder meal is the Passover meal. This happens at home. And there's an order to it. Actually, the word Seder means order in Hebrew. And the patriarch or the matriarch of the household leads the prayers. It is a religious ritual that happens at home. So I called up a former student of mine, a former student who is Jewish and very active in his Jewish faith. And I asked him about some of these things, and he shared a few reflections. So first and foremost, for him, the synagogue and home are basically of equal religious importance for him. But what you don't get at home for Shabbat dinners or for a Seder meal at home is the community. So last week, he told me that for their Shabbat dinner, they did a Zoom meeting with a bunch of other members of their congregation, just to have that added element of community. Second reflection that he shared with me is that the parents play a really large role, and that role is a role of a religious leader in a way that most Catholic parents don't. So what I mean by that is you watch your parents as you grow up. You watch your parents leading religious rituals at home. They lead those rituals, they teach you about those rituals, and they prepare you to eventually lead those rituals when it comes time, when you've had your bar mitzvah or your bat mitzvah. So I'm thinking about Catholics right now, Catholics who are struggling to engage in sacramental life while we're quarantined at home. And I think it's great, and I commend priests for offering live stream masses. I think this is a really good service. However, there's something missing. There's actually a couple things missing. First and foremost, that bread and wine, the body and blood, right? Those actual physical elements of the Mass we're not getting. And then secondly, the community. We're watching a priest on a screen who's saying Mass, and maybe there are a few people there with him, and maybe we have our family gathered with us, but where's the rest of our congregation? That is a big part of what we do when we go to liturgy. And we've talked a lot about that in this class, is community. We've basically reduced Mass to a liturgy of the word service, which is, it's not a bad thing. It's a substitute, but it's not Mass. I have a few questions for you guys. And the first is this: can we learn something, again, from our Jewish brothers and sisters in this case? Next, is there a way that your parents lead faith-based rituals or faith study at home? And third, what's something that we currently do in church that we could be doing at home?